this thing on? Not everything is a past life wound. Sometimes you just need therapy. All right, y'all, it's time for some spiritual tea and tough truths because today we're calling out one of the biggest traps in the healing world, blaming everything on past lives, karma, or the universe instead of just doing the damn work. Look, past life wounds are real. Karma is real. Spiritual lessons, also real. But you know what else is real? Unhealed trauma, mental health struggles, and straight up avoidance. So if you've ever met someone or been someone who dodges responsibility by saying, "Oh, this is just my past life karma playing out," grab a seat because we need to talk. When spirituality becomes avoidance, stop using the universe as an excuse. Spirituality is supposed to be a tool for growth, healing, and awareness. But too often, people use it as a shield to avoid real work. Instead of facing hard truths, they turn to past life wounds, karmic contracts, astrology, or the universe as a catch all explanation for why their life isn't changing. The problem? That keeps them stuck. Let's break down the biggest avoidance traps and how to recognize when you're dodging personal responsibility. Number one, the "this is just my past life trauma" excuse. Yes, past life wounds exist. Yes, they can influence patterns in your current life, but blaming everything on a past life without doing any real work in this one, that's just spiritual procrastination. Signs you're using past lives as an escape. You keep saying, "I must have been X in a past life," instead of addressing your current behavior. You assume everything challenging is due to old soul wounds instead of real world choices. You believe you're doomed to repeat patterns because of past life karma instead of actively breaking them. Truth check. Your past lives are influences, not life sentences. The lessons that follow you into this life aren't here to punish you. They're here to be worked through and resolved. Example: "I must have been betrayed in a past life. That's why I don't trust anyone." Or, "Is your trust broken because of childhood wounds you never addressed?" Number two, the "it's just karma" excuse. Spiritual bypassing at its finest. Karma is cause and effect. It's the natural balance of energy across lifetimes. But let's be real. Saying "it's just my karma" without real introspection is an escape hatch. Karma is not an excuse to stay in bad situations, let toxic cycles repeat, or avoid taking action. Signs you're using karma as a cop out. You resign yourself to suffering because "I must deserve it from a past life." You refuse to change patterns because "this is just how my karma plays out." You avoid accountability for your actions because "it's all part of the karmic plan." Truth check. Karma isn't static. It shifts when you do. If something feels stagnant, repetitive, or stuck, it's not because the universe is punishing you. It's because you haven't taken different action yet. Example: "I always attract emotionally unavailable partners. It must be my karma to suffer through this." Or, is this a lesson about boundaries, self-worth, or healing emotional wounds that keep attracting the same dynamic? Number three, over-identifying with past wounds, the victimhood loop. Trauma is real, wounds are real, but when your pain becomes your identity, it stops being a lesson and starts being a limitation. Signs you're stuck in a wound loop. You constantly reaffirm your struggles instead of working through them. Your entire identity is wrapped up in the pain you've experienced. You reject solutions that require effort, but embrace ones that reinforce suffering. Truth check. Your past shapes you, but it doesn't define you. Healing happens when you stop reliving your pain and start rewriting your story. Example: "I was hurt before, so I can never fully trust anyone." Or, Is it time to do the work to heal that wound so you don't have to carry it anymore? Spiritual awareness without action equals stagnation. Spirituality should be a tool for empowerment, not an excuse to avoid growth. Past lives matter, but so does this one. Karma influences, but your choices create. Healing your wounds is necessary, but they aren't your identity. The universe isn't keeping you stuck. You are. And the moment you stop hiding behind spiritual reasons and start taking real action, that's when the magic actually happens. The danger of over-spiritualizing everything, when high vibes become high delusions. Let's get into it. Spirituality is a powerful tool for healing, self-awareness, and expansion. But when it becomes a way to bypass reality, it stops being a tool and starts being a trap. Too many people use spirituality as an excuse to avoid taking real-world action. They think they can meditate their way out of trauma, manifest their way out of bad habits, or explain everything away with divine timing. But here's the harsh truth. Some things require action, not affirmation. Some problems need solutions, not spiritual excuses. Some experiences aren't a test from the universe. You just need to make better choices. Let's break down the biggest over-spiritualization traps and how they keep people stuck. Number 1, the I don't need therapy, I just need to meditate myth. Meditation, breath work, and energy healing are amazing tools, don't get me wrong. They help with clarity, emotional regulation, and inner peace, but they are not a substitute for therapy, deep self-work, or trauma processing. Why this is a trap. Meditation helps you observe thoughts, but it doesn't necessarily teach you how to change patterns. Spiritual healing often works in the energetic body, but trauma is stored in the nervous system. Some issues aren't just low vibrations or energy blocks. They're the result of deep psychological wounds that need structured healing. Truth check. If you keep meditating but still feel stuck in the same pain, it's not because you need more meditation. It's because you need to take action beyond it. Meditation can only get you so far. You still have to take action. Example. I feel deep abandonment wounds, so I'm just going to meditate on it every day until it goes away. Or you could work with a therapist, journal about your triggers, set boundaries, and actively change how you show up in relationships. Do the work. Number 2, when shadow work becomes an excuse to stay in the shadows. Shadow work is powerful as fuck. Facing your deepest wounds, patterns, and suppressed emotions is a necessary part of the healing journey, and kudos to you if you've hit the really deep pockets. But here's the issue. Some people use shadow work as an excuse to keep reliving their pain instead of actually moving through it. Come on, you guys, it's flow. Why this is a trap. Shadow work isn't just about analyzing pain. It's about integrating and healing it. Some people get stuck in the excavation phase, constantly uncovering wounds but never actually applying the lessons. You don't become enlightened by constantly sitting in your darkness. You heal when you bring light to it and do something with that awareness. Truth check. If you've been doing shadow work for years but still feel stuck in the same cycles, ask yourself, am I actually healing or just obsessively revisiting my trauma? Example. I'm doing shadow work on my self-worth issues, but I keep getting into the same toxic relationships. Or you could take what you've learned from shadow work and finally say no to unhealthy relationships, set boundaries, and choose partners who actually respect you. Number 3, the everything happens for a reason trap. This one is tricky because yes, in the grand scheme, everything does happen for a reason, but not every single bad thing in your life is some divine test, karmic lesson, or fated event. Sometimes shit happens because of your choices. Shit happens because other people make choices. Shit happens because life is unpredictable. If you spend all your time looking for some cosmic meaning behind every misstep, you might be ignoring the very real, tangible things that need to change in your life. Why this is a trap. Not everything is some deep spiritual assignment. Sometimes you just need to take responsibility. Overanalyzing everything as a lesson can make you passive instead of proactive. Sometimes the reason something happened is because of actions, not destiny. Truth check. If you're constantly waiting for the universe to reveal the lesson, but not actually changing your behavior, you're not learning, you're stalling. Example, I lost my job because the universe is testing me. Or you lost your job because you showed up late every day. The lesson isn't some divine mystery, it's about accountability. Spirituality is meant to empower you, not excuse you. Meditate, but also get the therapy, do the real world work, and apply the lessons. Do shadow work, but don't use it as an excuse to stay in suffering. Trust the universe, but don't ignore real life consequences and personal responsibility. Spirituality should make you stronger, not passive. It should help you take action, not avoid it. If you've been waiting for a sign to stop using spirituality as a crutch and start using it as a tool, this is it. Mental health versus spiritual healing. Why you need both. Spirituality and mental health should work together, not against each other. The problem is that many people lean too far in one direction. It's all about balance, you guys. Either rejecting spirituality in favor of clinical psychology or dismissing mental health care in favor of purely energetic work. But here's the truth. Spirituality gives you the big picture understanding of your soul's journey, but therapy helps you actually process and integrate your experiences in a way that sticks. You can't out-meditate unresolved trauma. You can't sage away deep-seated anxiety. And you definitely can't high-vibe yourself out of depression. You need both. Here's why. Number one, spirituality helps you understand, but mental health helps you heal. Whew, that was a mouthful. A lot of people have deep, profound spiritual realizations, but then don't know what to do with them. Spirituality can give you insights like, I have abandonment wounds from past lives. This trauma is part of my karmic lesson. My soul signed up for this experience to evolve. That's great, but now what? Spiritual awareness doesn't automatically equal emotional healing. Understanding the why doesn't necessarily change the how it affects you. You can intellectually understand your wounds and still be trapped by them emotionally. Truth check. If you're having deep spiritual breakthroughs but still struggling to function in your daily life, that's a sign you need practical mental health tools to help process and integrate what's coming up. Example. I had a past life regression that showed I was abandoned in multiple lifetimes. That explains why I have trust issues. Hey, that's great insight, but now what? Therapy can help you develop tools to navigate trust issues in your daily life instead of just knowing about them in theory. Number two, energy healing is powerful, but trauma lives in the nervous system. Chakra clearing, Reiki, and energy healing can help remove energetic blockages, but trauma isn't just stored in your aura, it's stored in your nervous system. When something traumatic happens, your body literally remembers. Your fight or flight system gets activated, your brain rewires itself to recognize certain triggers as threats, your body holds on to stress responses long after the experience is over. Energy work can help shift emotions and clear stagnant energy, but it doesn't always reprogram the nervous system. That's where somatic therapy, trauma-informed therapy, and nervous system regulation come in. Why this matters. If your body is still in fight or flight mode, no amount of positive affirmations will stop the anxiety. If your brain has been wired for hypervigilance, meditating for 10 minutes won't undo years of survival-based programming. Trauma-informed therapy, EMDR, and nervous system regulation techniques help the body unlearn the trauma response so that your spiritual healing actually sticks. Number 3, spiritual awakening can trigger mental health crises because deep healing requires real-world support. A lot of people assume that spiritual awakening is all love and light, but the reality, it often brings up suppressed trauma, existential crises, and deep emotional pain. Why? Because awakening forces you to see everything you've buried. It shakes up your identity, dismantles your conditioning, and unearths wounds you didn't even know were there. Without the right mental health support, this can be overwhelming, even dangerous. Signs you might need mental health support during awakening. You feel emotionally dysregulated, cycling between extreme highs and lows. You're having intrusive thoughts, panic attacks, or symptoms of PTSD. You're struggling with daily functioning, work, relationships, basic self-care. You feel disconnected from reality or like you're losing touch. Example: I feel like my old identity is crumbling and I don't know who I am anymore. Normal part of awakening, but also a sign that grounding techniques, therapy, or nervous system work might be necessary. Spiritual growth doesn't mean ignoring mental health red flags. It means integrating both spiritual and psychological tools to create lasting healing. You need both, not just one or the other. You can meditate, cleanse your energy, and do shadow work all day long. But if you don't address the psychological and physiological aspects of healing, you're just looping in cycles of awareness without integration. Real healing happens when you combine spiritual understanding, big picture awareness, soul lessons, energetic alignment, mental health tools, therapy, nervous system regulation, trauma processing. It's a dynamic balance. Spirituality gives you the why, the larger cosmic view of your journey, and a sense of purpose. But mental health work gives you the how to function, heal, and thrive in the here and now. The bottom line: if you're stuck in a spiritual breakthrough but struggling with real-world emotional fallout, it's time to bring in the mental health support. Healing isn't one size fits all. It's a blend of the spiritual and the practical. You can't skip the emotional processing just because you've had a big spiritual moment. Real integration is when both worlds come together. So what in the world is the whole ass takeaway here, right? Do the spiritual work, but don't ignore the human work. Past life wounds matter, but so does healing what's right in front of you. Karma plays a role, but so do your choices. You can be spiritual and get therapy. You can meditate and take medication, and it can be all natural. It worked long before Big Pharma ever existed. Healing isn't just one path, it's all of them working together. So next time you catch yourself saying, "This is just my karma," pause for a sec. Are you actually doing the work or just hiding behind your crystal collection like it's gonna magically fix everything? Because let's be real, if you're always looking at past lives, you might just be missing out on this life, the one where the real healing happens. Until next time, where we might just talk about why the whole universe isn't here to fix your emotional baggage. Spoiler, it's gonna get real. You won't want to miss it. Get off the air? Ooh, what a shit show.